This video will, as expected, contain some spoilers for Noita. Noita. It's not just a game, it's a feeling. What feeling may that be, I hear you ask? Well, that's difficult to answer, but I'm gonna do my best. Pain. Being developed by the Finnish, the game itself is suicidal, and it makes sure to impart that feeling upon anyone who plays it as well. The marketing for this game is mainly focused on the physical simulation of every pixel in the game world. As you may imagine, this can be quite taxing on your computer. I personally have an i7-9700 and my frame rate quite often slowed to a crawl, although this may have more to do with me running it through Proton. Frame rate issues aside, the physics system is extremely interesting and, like most things in this game, exceptionally lethal. A testament to the game's difficulty is that despite my 30 plus hours in Noita, I haven't even beaten its first boss. In the context of any other game, this might immediately discount whatever I have to say about it, which is not entirely untrue here, but in this case there's something of an exception. This is because the first boss of this game is actually harder than the boss required to finish the game. Of course, it's also entirely optional. I avoid it most of my runs unless I'm feeling more masochistic than usual. All of this is just a fancy way of saying that the game is insanely difficult. This difficulty is one of its main draws for me, although not directly. What I mean by this is that Noita's difficulty encourages players to prod its boundaries and attempt to break them. For example, in trying to go over a set of mountains at the edge of the world in other games, you might find an invisible wall or an infinite void. However, this is not any other game. Where I found the greatest amount of enjoyment playing Noita was in exploration, and trying to break any boundaries that I found in it. In Noita, instead of being prevented from going over said mountain, you can go ahead and see what lies on the other side, which is, as with most things in this game, death. On the surface, Noita is a roguelite with a few unique gimmicks. In reality, it's more of Terraria for masochists. The game starts you off in front of a mountain, with a cave entrance on its side. Many different tiers lay below which you are expected to traverse. In time, you'll find the world is much larger than this. That mountain can be scaled, leading to a desert. Across the desert is a pyramid, with its own set of deadly enemies to brave. Even farther is a solid wall of seemingly impenetrable material with a strange shrine. Before I go any further with this, I have to clarify that I'm far from a Noita expert. I have not explored all of the secrets the game holds, nor do I intend to spoil them for myself in researching for this video any more than I already have. Now, with that out of the way, I'm going to begin to go into specifics on exactly how the game operates. If you recollect my mention of an impenetrable wall at the edge of the world, I've got news for you. That wall is in fact penetrable. The main issue is that only a select few spells can pierce it. In order to go through, some of the more accessible methods are to summon a black hole, delete matter using rays of focused energy, or to polymorph yourself into a giant worm. If you do manage to go through, you might find something like a vault of seemingly infinite money, or if you go far enough, a parallel world. If you end up finding a parallel world, I wouldn't rate your chances of survival as very high for numerous reasons you'll have to learn for yourself. My overarching point here is that the game doesn't put any hard limitations on just how far you can bend it. In addition to all of the ridiculous spell combinations you have to experiment with, you can create a literal star, or trip on shrooms until reality rearranges itself, and can possibly result in your entire world being engulfed in a sea of acid. Bending the rules of this game can be enticing, and bring with it some ridiculously powerful items and spells. But if you don't have the right equipment starting out, you might find yourself tunneling through rock for 3 hours with a luminous drill. In light of this, and in the interest of giving this review a modicum of focus beyond all the aimless rambling I've already done, the remainder of this review will be focused on the main area of the game and will be treated as a roguelite instead of the chaotic open-world exploration game it actually is. In the beginning, things will be relatively easy to control. You can quite easily run from any threats you can't handle, and things are generally not too dangerous. This is fairly short-lived, as the game will begin to ramp up significantly at around the 3rd stage. Snipers and automatic machine guns will patrol the area, and force you to tread carefully if you don't want a bullet planted in your cranium. In spite of all this, you can still control the situation with some quick thinking. You'll begin to feel your control in the game state begin to slip once you enter Hisi Base, where you're trapped in a maze of tight corridors with blast-resistant metal, which can transfer electricity as well. Explosives, Hisi, and all other manner of danger will ensure to shake up the status quo and keep you on your toes. This trend continues to escalate for the remaining stages, with the exception of the jungle, which is at least partially manageable. Once you enter the vault, however, the game finally reveals its true form and begins to erupt into total chaos. So, unless you've extensively prepared, you'll quickly realize just how little control you have over the situation in this part of the game, and will most likely survive by the skin of your teeth through luck alone, if you survive at all. As for the Temple of the Art, I must admit that I've never actually cleared it without invisibility, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. The enemies there make a point of it to constantly bend the rules of the game, which can spell lights out for you at a moment's notice. If you somehow manage to clear all that, then you arrive at the boss room. A strange spider-like creature is in the center. A lake of lava is looming overhead. Once you take the salt from the pedestal, the floodgates open, trapping you and filling the stage with lava as the boss activates and begins throwing everything it has at you. Here's a fun story. One time I took a certain perk that made you teleport whenever you took damage. That sounds like a good way to get out of danger, right? Well, that came back to bite me in the boss room. The boss was on its last slivers of health when it hit me with one of its spells, and I teleported directly into the lake of lava, and I promptly perished. If you somehow manage to kill the boss, a portal opens to a strange room titled The Work. Once you place the salt in its receptacle, the world is transmuted into gold, and you along with it. I've heard there are additional endings, but due to the extremely esoteric nature of all the secrets in this game, the vast majority of players will only experience the aforementioned ending. If you are looking for a balanced experience, don't play this game. Noita doesn't play by its own rules, and if you want to survive, you're going to have to cheat just the same. In short, you either become a sacrifice to the gods, or you become a god yourself.